Welcome once again, everyone, to the Man's podcast. Today, I'm presenting you with another amazing guest, Wendy DeRosa. Wendy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Uh, nice. So let's begin by your introduction so that people have a brief overview of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Wendy DeRosa, and I am an intuitive healer and a teacher and an author and a speaker. I'm a founder of a company. I have been in the field of intuition for about 30 years now and teach and train healers and leaders in developing their intuition.
You have a very big profile.
Yeah, been around a while.
Nice. So now let's go straight to the question. So, can you share your journey and what led you to focus on the intersection of intuition and leadership?
Yeah. So, in my journey, I'll back up to say that, intuition and leadership came much later in my journey. Earlier on in my history, I grew up sensitive and intuitive and didn't know it. I thought there was something wrong with me. I developed anxiety and depression at a very young age. I was very empathic, so I gained a lot of weight as a child just from feeling and absorbing the energy around me. Ended up, through my teenage life, again, anxiety increased. I had back then what we would call the nervous breakdown. And I ended up, I'm abridging the story a little bit, but I ended up finding a teacher who helped me understand that what I actually had was a gift. And if I didn't turn to it, and understand more about it, I would continue to be symptomatic. I would continue to develop, anxiety and depression. I would continue to have those symptoms. So I chose to turn towards it and work with her for a bit, and then a couple of years, and then I branched off and started to do my own private sessions. This was in my early 20s. And then fast forward to my these, I had over 500 clients from word of mouth. This is even before the internet existed the way it does now. People wanted to learn how to do what I do, so I developed a school. And then from there, I started to train healers and people who wanted to understand how to develop their intuition. And out of that student body, a lot of business leaders and leaders were also wanting to develop intuition for their own. They resonated with what I had to say and share, and they wanted to develop it for their own personal and professional life. And so that's fast forward, here we are. But I've written 4 books and teach all over on global platforms. And fast forward, here we are.
Okay, nice. So I have my strange question. Let's suppose I am a 5-year-old boy or child in general, and I want to understand what intuition is. How would you explain that to me?
So intuition is the light of your soul communicating through your body, through your mind, like through your, I'm going to use the word consciousness. Maybe 5-year-old boy wouldn't understand that word, but it's through our understanding. To break it down even further, some people feel, some people see, some people hear, and some people know. And we have a sensory experience. We sense things, and different people experience their intuition differently.
Okay, so you talked about the concept of inner light. Can you explain what this means and how it relates to leadership?
Yeah, so our inner light is the light of our soul. So we're born into this human experience, into our body. Our soul is a deeper consciousness. So when we're born, our soul inhabits our body, and we carry within us this incredible light. Now, a lot of my background, which I've skipped over here, my initial introduction is actually coming from some yoga philosophy, which is an energetic anatomy philosophy, which is that we have a powerful central channel inside our body. It goes from the crown of our head to the base of our spine, and it's literally a meridian. It's literally a channel in the body. And that central channel feeds life force throughout our whole body, but it is the light of our soul that illuminates from that central channel inside us. And that is our inner light. It is the consciousness of our soul, our intuition, it's our purpose, our meaning, who we are, and why we're here. And I'm going to use the word dharma, meaning, and it's a Buddhist word, meaning it is our mission here on this earth.
Okay, so talking still on this central right you are explaining the soul in general. So are you also familiar with the chakras?
Yes. Yes.
So do you know how to awaken the chakras? Maybe the
So,
physics?
yes. Well, a lot of my work is based on the chakras also. And it's been interesting. I'm writing my fourth full book right now. And it's about, and I talk about the chakras in relation to intuition and leaders. So it's very interesting to bring chakras into a leadership conversation, but that central channel, it is the power center that runs through the chakras, and the light of our soul, it expands and feeds those power centers. It feeds the chakras. It gives the life force to the chakras. And the interesting thing about intuition is that intuition relates to the chakras also. So I'll give you an example. Lower, but from the heart down, the people who are more the feelers, they're the empaths, they're the knowers. They get the body sensations. They get the gut feeling. They are strong. That means life force is moving through their lower chakras more. And there's more I can say about that, because those chakras relate to what I would call clairsenses, clairsentient and claircognizant. Those are aspects of intuition. The upper chakras are more the visionaries, the visionary leaders. Sometimes in the spiritual world, we say psychics or channelers, or we say they are the people who have the big visions. CEOs tend to be upper body intuitives. And so that means that there's the light from the center of our body is illuminating predominantly through these upper chakras. They're the clairvoyance, the clairaudience. So our chakra system is a major template in how our intuition works. And it's informed by the amount of soul light, inner light is illuminating through them.
Nice. Now I am, it's like I'm speaking to a guru from India. Another question, this is a conversation I like, because I always wonder how I can become more powerful spiritually. So another strange question. Sometimes for me, myself, for example, I can feel it when there are some spirits in my environment. So what chakra is that, and how can I make it more powerful?
Okay, say that again. Sometimes can you repeat that one more time?
Sometimes when in my environment where I'm sitting, for example, when there are some spirits, I can feel that something is not going well.
Okay.
I can sense it. So
yeah. Okay. So when you sense it, where do you feel it in your body? Do you feel it in a particular area?
Okay. Now we are going into something very spiritual, because when spirits come to the environment, they sometimes have a specific part of your body that they want to attack.
Okay.
So sometimes if they are trying to attack my ears, for example, when they are around my head, I can feel it. When they are around maybe near my shoulder, maybe near my left shoulder, I can feel that. And for example, when I am in a room which isn't really where things are not going well, I can feel it sometimes.
Yeah. And you're talking about spirits. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Where do you think spirits? Okay. So first of all, there are parts of the world where the veils between worlds are thinner than where I live, in particular, where there's only, when I say where I live, meaning I live in the United States, where there's a lot less ingrained in the US culture about spirituality by way of spirit. So there are certain cultures that do have it more ingrained in their culture. When we have it more ingrained in our culture, we have more of a sensitivity to it. There's a little more of a vulnerability, a sensitivity, and awareness of it. So in those cases, protection is important in ways in which, but here's where the central channel and the chakras matter, because so let me back up to say I wrote a book called Becoming an Empowered Empath. And what I'm going to say comes from that book and the premise in that book, which is that protection isn't about outside in. There's teachings like we'll put a bubble of light around us, and that will protect us from energy outside of us, whether we're walking into a board meeting or whether we're engaging in emotional energy or whether we're engaging in spiritual energy. But the truth is that's a good Band-Aid. That works for a period of time, and then it doesn't work over time because we can't sustain it. So inner protection comes from the radiance of our central channel and taking up space in our body. And we do that by grounding our body from our legs and our feet, and our grounding cord is what I like to use, this image of roots going down into the earth and a cord holding us to the earth. And we also, by calling in higher light or higher love or divinity through the crown of our head, and we can use any word here, different belief systems use different words, but essentially this light that flows through the central channel, and we imagine it, we envision it, we feel it. But the more we feel it and the more we practice it, the more potent it becomes. It's that little central channel no longer stays a skinny little line. Now it overflows with life force, with prana, and our soul light takes up more space. And when we do that, when we embody and take up more space, then we are not leaving any vacancies for any other spiritual energy to attack or come in. We are holding our, no, this is my body. This is my energy. No, you do not come in. Whether or not we're talking about spiritual energy or whether we're talking about emotional energy, sometimes with empaths and who are very intuitive, the energy crosses over, anybody's energy crosses over, and then they feel burnt out. They feel overwhelmed. They feel exhausted. And so we have to be able to become resilient internally by allowing this light to take up more space inside our body and claim, this is my body. This is my energy. Nope. Nothing comes in.
It's actually very hard to fight with those things when they like to attack you. For example, like you said that in some cultures where they have, for example, where they practice witchery the most, people will have to sense those evil spirits in most cases. But I have another question. How does materials like salt, for example, work? Is it really effective in protecting ourselves?
Is what protective?
Salt, for example, this salt we use while cooking.
Yeah. So different again. So here, I'll say this. My husband's Costa Rican, and he grew up with a mother who was very spiritual and very tied in with the spirits of, her land, meaning she had to do a lot of protection. And in her culture and in Costa Rica, where they grew up, the veils between worlds are much thinner. Nature is a very big component to life. So where they grew up, spirits were part of life, and that might be the case where you are too. It's like spiritual spirits are a part of the culture. My mother-in-law, my husband's mother, would say 100% yes. salt is an anecdote. Salt is a protector. Salt is a cleanser. In my world, what I have grown up with, not in my childhood, but in my adult life of understanding cleansing and spiritual energy, is that sea salt, Epsom salt, salt in baths or in purification rituals can be very, very cleansing. And these are what I'll call spiritual or tools to help with purification. They are one type of purification tool. There's other ones that have been more incorporated and adapted into our culture in the US, like sage,
Yes,
doing
I know.
each cleansing, Palo Santo, or, different types of burning of different types of herbs to help purify the field. Those are also purification rituals. Yeah. And again, we're drawing from different cultures here. So sometimes I think we have to look at the culture and what works within that system. And sometimes we have to listen to our intuition. What does our soul say we might need to help, purify or protect?
Okay, so let us try to skip those things of spirituality. They're somehow strange. But even though people fear to talk about spirituality, it's part of our daily lives. And there is a Nigerian pastor. He once said that over 80% of this life is spiritual than physical, which means that people must be able to fight spiritually for them to be physically strong. So another question, like we know a lot of different fruits and vegetables that we can feed our body to be physically healthy and strong. So what are the tips or what advice do you give to someone who wants to feed their soul and make it strong?
Yeah, so feeding your soul on an energetic level, I'll talk about that and then how that can happen in a more tangible ways. So feeding our soul on an energetic level means that we are receiving prana or life force energy into the energetic anatomy. That means that the central channel, the light of our soul, communes with divine consciousness, divine God, grace, divinity, whatever word we use here. It means that that light is entering into the light of our soul, and our soul is receiving life force energy, and that enhances our human experience. Now, to do that can be a lot of different tools or ways. We can do it through prayer. We can do it through meditation. We can do it through movement. If movement is connected to spirit, we can do it through cleansing rituals. We can do it through being in nature. We can do it through mindfulness practices and awareness, that we're just being aware that our soul needs to be fed something. And whatever it is, it's based on listening to our intuition. Sometimes our soul needs to be fed by sleep. Sometimes we're overtired and we need to rest. And sometimes our soul needs good food, and not food that's processed, but food that came off the tree or off the plant. So, and sometimes we need to take care of our physical body in a way that connects us and grounds us more into our body. So how we feed our soul is the way in which we are going to, again, stay in alignment and in connection with spirit. Sometimes it's a matter of putting our hands on our heart and looking somebody in the eye, and making connection human to human. So there's all different ways that we might feed ourselves and our soul and our body. And these are just some ways. But when we do that, we enhance the light of our soul. We expand from the inside out.
Okay, it seems to be a tough journey, but since spirituality is part of our life, since we have a soul that we live with, we must also take care of it. I have also heard that the book of Psalms in the Bible, it's one of the strong books that can help in strengthening your soul. And also, people often say that reading books and continuous learning can make your consciousness powerful.
Yeah,
Uh,
knowledge and yes, spiritual tech. Yes, yes,
And
perspective.
when you try to look between religion and science, somehow what science calls consciousness, it might be what we call the soul spiritual. Because science has a way that it has to abstain from everything that is spiritual and find another way to call it. And also eating a lot of vegetables and fruits. They say that it also empowers the soul and also it contributes to the opening of the chakras we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now,
God, in a puja or in philosophy in honoring the deities, there is an offering that's made. And in Bali or in India, it's the offering of fruit, like you're saying, and then prayer for the fruit. And then we ingest the fruit, and that fruit has been blessed. So, yeah.
okay, now let's get back to leadership. So how can leaders cultivate their intuition to enhance their leadership abilities?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How can leaders cultivate their intuition to enhance their leadership ability?
How can leaders enhance their intuition?
Yes, cultivate it or grow it or improve it.
Yeah, so first of all, it can be helpful to understand what type of intuitive you are, and I'm speaking to leaders. So are you someone who is a more of a visionary? You see pictures and images, you might have visionary dreams, you might get insights and downloads very quickly, your brain might move very quickly. Are you more of that type of intuitive? Are you an intuitive that hears messages, like maybe the sound of your own voice or higher guidance or your own heart or your lower body? Sometimes we hear something from deep within us, that hearing sense. Are you the type of intuitive who is a little more of a feeler? You feel the energy of others, you have empathy for them, you understand emotionally what other people are experiencing, and you meet that need through your leadership? Or are you the type of intuitive who gets the knowing sense? You get physical sensations like the body chills, or you get a gut, like just a sinking feeling in the gut, or you sometimes get the heart callings or the anxiety in the heart. That's more of a knower or a claircognizant intuitive. So to enhance your intuition may mean identifying first what type of intuitive you are. And some people get all of those. Maybe they get one or two, or they get all four that I mentioned. And if that's the case, then to enhance our intuition, initially is going to start by grounding ourselves. How do we not let the stimulation of our intuitive responses take over? And instead, how do we ground ourselves and listen or tune in and become aware of what the soul is trying to say? It might be, when I say trying to say, it might not be through words. It might be through sensations or a knowing sense. We actually have to slow down and tune in to the body sensations of what's happening and pay attention or receive the deeper message or the deeper knowing that's coming through. So grounding is going to be a key component to developing our intuition. And by grounding, I mean, all the energy that's living up here has to come down more into our lower body and into our legs and our feet. And we can do that by, I like to imagine roots growing from the soles of the feet, or a big cord going from my hips to the center of the earth, or literally do what science says grounding is, which is go walk outside, be in nature, put our feet on the ground. These are ways to settle the body so that we can start to really pay attention to the intuition signals, the intuitive signals that our soul is giving us.
Okay, so now on grounding, that's really making our, okay, there are two things I have heard somewhere, people saying that connecting your feet to the ground, it somehow connects you to the earth, and then the long hairs they somehow connect you to the higher power.
That what connects you to the higher powers? Grounding?
The hair, the hair.
Hair. Okay.
They work like antennas.
I have heard this too. And again, it's philosophy. It's a philosophy. It's a way. It's a way to understand. And grounding. There are studies on grounding. So there's all these studies about walking barefoot on the earth and the ionic connection between the Earth's frequency, the Earth's ions connecting to the physical body's ions, and its reduction in inflammation and stress in our body that has a whole bunch of health benefits. And from a chakra perspective, to what you're saying, the root chakra is the power center at the tailbone that opens up when we're grounded. And the crown chakra, which is above the top of the head, which relates to the head and the hair and the scalp, connects us to higher consciousness, spiritual energy, higher spiritual energy. I mean, we have spirit in the earth too, but, yes, I would say from what you're saying, there's a chakra relationship also.
Oh, yes. And like you said that we have a spirit in the earth. I would say that is true because for those who have read the Bible, remember the earth was created spiritually. It was not something that was physical, which means that this world is somehow created by power and is made up of power. And the Chinese philosophies are the ones who believe this, that this world is made up of power and there is a lot of power on this earth. That only if you knew how to attract that power, you can then become a great human being. Now let's go to your book, Becoming an Empowered Empath. How does empathy play a role in effective leadership?
Yeah, so empathy. So the book talks about empathy, but it talks about empathic. Leaders who are more empathic, meaning they feel the energy of other people, and that includes emotions and emotional energy. They have the capacity to be able to understand where someone else's lived experience. And as a leader, when we have the ability to not just understand what someone else is experiencing, but to be able to communicate in a way that supports them and lets them know you understand and has a way to meet that need or guide particular strategies or missions or solutions to help someone else, like the team or another employee or another founder or someone else outside of them. When we're able to give them empathy and understanding for where they are, it settles their nervous system. And when their nervous system is settled, that tells us as leaders they feel safe. When they feel safe with us as a leader because they know in this moment we understand them, then we're able to communicate at a whole other level. We're able to move solutions forward. We're able to make decisions. We're able to collaborate and come up with new ideas or new, again, solutions to particular problems when we're able to provide empathy for someone else's experience. It takes the paradigm of I'm a leader and everyone, it takes the patriarchal paradigm out and says no longer is it going to be me dictating how things should go. Now I'm stepping into a deeper level of empathic leadership, which is a little more of a feminine model. It's not about gender. It's about feminine model is empathy and vulnerability and sensitivity and intuition and understanding and emotional resilience and authenticity. All of those fall under that category of the feminine model. That model creates more inclusivity and people feel included and accepted and appreciated and valued. And that's one of the ways that empathy and empathic leaders can really step forward. And the world needs that. The world needs that because we have been, and I can only speak for the US in particular, because that's the country I live in, but we have been divided so much, and leaders are really called to step in and embrace more of their empathic nature.
Okay, so to put that simple, it's like the other proverb where they say that to better understand someone, or maybe let's say if you're working with someone, you don't go on and judge them that they are walking slowly, but instead you have to first put your feet in their shoes to better understand what they might be experiencing. So you mean readers must be able to understand people as if they were them.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Now we go to real world applications. Can you provide examples of how individuals and organizations have successfully integrated intuition into their leadership practices?
So, some of the examples that come to me initially are some of the, and again, I have a US lens, so I just want to be clear about that. And that, we have big tech leaders, for example, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, Apple or Microsoft. And in those examples, these are tech leaders who will say ultimately their biggest, most successful decisions have come out of intuition. And what were the conversation, because I have a lot of leaders in the tech world that I work with, the conversation becomes data feedback or intuitive feedback. And we can get data everywhere. There's so much research that goes into receiving data, and we just can collect that to no end.
So, can you provide examples of how individuals or organizations have successfully integrated intuition into their leadership practice? Or
Well,
maybe how can they do it?
yeah, I mean, the first thing I would say is what, from my experience, I observe what a lot of leaders might say. Like in the US in particular, we have a strong tech leadership, and we know some of those tech leaders like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates who have both equally commented on the value of intuition in making some of the most important decisions that they've made in their navigating of a very large companies. So what I would say is that intuition is been related to decision making. I make decisions according to my intuition. And what we're starting to find in leadership and in companies is that intuition is also equating to emotional resilience and self-care and taking care of the health and well-being of employees and community and the members within an organization. So you're starting to use other language, but underneath that language is intuition. It's a way of saying, I can feel that the health and well-being of my team members, for example, are being compromised right now. Or I can feel that stress is high. Or I can sense that I'm seeing the signs and the signals that people within our team are getting burnt out. And so how do we implement strategies to help them with their wellness, with their overall wellness? And so terms like mindfulness and wellness and emotional resilience are being brought into the field. But we have the awareness that those are needed because we're getting intuitive signals that people are affected, by stress or by the demands within a company or the expectations. So how we implement it is exactly that. It is about paying attention and being aware within our bodies, as leaders of our own signals. Where are we getting burnt out? Where are we overriding our intuition in decision making because the board says we need to make this decision, but my gut says we need to make a different decision? We have to, as leaders, start to pay more attention to the signals within ourselves. And as we do that, we become more attuned to the way in which our employees or our team members or our community members are also needing leadership that tends to what they might be experiencing. If their team is taken care of, the company it will thrive because the team is being nourished or nurtured, even if that's a strong word to use in business. So those are some ideas and how we might implement intuition. as leaders.
Yes, so like you said, it's like you're saying that you have to take care of your people. Then
Yep.
the people will take care of the business. It's a common saying in the business: you take care of the people, then the people will take care of your business.
That's right. That's right. And we have to, as leaders, be in tuned enough to know, in tuned enough to be aware that the people need to be taken care of.
Absolutely. So, given the current landscape, why do you believe intuitive leadership is more crucial than ever?
Yeah, I think because we're seeing the results of it not being incorporated. I keep I've referred earlier about the patriarchal leadership, which is that, there is someone in charge dictating and creating pressure and pushing and overriding empathy, not having empathy for the world or for the state of people and humanity. And what we're starting to find nowadays is that leaders who have the ability to be able to understand people and pain and humanity and issues and world issues, microscopic and macroscopic, that we're able to really understand them at a deeper level because we are in tune with that, is what people need. It's where they are going to thrive when we have leadership that understands the real aches and pains of what's happening so that we know how to, I mean, it's not even just problem solve, but to collaboratively work together towards solutions. I think it's a big conversation, but that's one part of it.
Yes. So, what is one key takeaway you would like our listeners today to remember about the relationship between intuition and leadership?
Yeah, one key takeaway is that intuition is a superpower, and we do have the ability to tune into it and develop it and understand how our intuition works. And when we do that, we open up a door to a whole new level of awareness that can create results that we otherwise would not have expected. Positive results, surprising results when we stay in tune with ourselves.
Okay, so can you share any mentors or those who have inspired your journey into intuitive leadership?
Yeah, and intuitive leadership, I would say, there's some that, the leaders that come to my mind, I think Oprah is a leader, has spoken quite a bit about her intuition and decision making that goes wrong when she doesn't listen to her intuition. That is a leader. I think that there's a lot of even, you know, political global leaders who do address the power of the human spirit that resonates very deeply for me, and it touches humanity and the human need to be able to incorporate, our overall spiritual health and well-being into our into wellness in general. But when leaders are able to do that, it's very powerful to witness and to draw from. I think that's what we're facing, is that there has been a split in leadership and people, and we're learning to bridge that split by embracing more of our spirituality, our humanity, and our intuition. I wish I could say I have tons of leaders who are leading right now from that intuitive place, but I still think it's a conversation that's still opening up. I think people touch on it. I don't know that I have a other great model at the moment. I think we're still trying to crack the ceiling.
So, but maybe intuition might also be a gift for some of the people.
Yeah.
Because in this life, we don't all have the same ability. Everyone is different. Some people may not even understand the concept of intuition. And
Yeah.
maybe they say that we have to follow a set of rules and regulations that we have set, and that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an evolution. It's an evolving concept and conversation. And I always believe that, when we're ready, there's a saying in personal growth and spiritual growth, like when you're ready, the teacher appears. So, and so when we're ready, to understand more, and we're ready to look under the hood and understand more about our intuition, the teacher will show up.
Good. So, what challenges do you think organizations face when implementing intuitive leadership practice?
What challenges do we face?
Do you
When
think organizations or companies face when trying to implement intuitive leadership?
I think the challenge is for one, intuition isn't always 100% accurate. There's human error, there's personal biases, there's personal wounds and issues that are in the way, and fate. Life changes. We can't control everything. So I think one of the challenges is understanding when we need to get data feedback and when we need intuitive feedback, and how we blend those two. When do we need more information in order to make a decision, and when do we need to be tuning into our intuition, and how do we balance both of those? I think sometimes with intuition, there's personal biases, like I said, and what's intuitively right for one person may not be intuitively right for another person. And so sometimes we have to weigh whether or not the decision is right for a company based on our gut instincts. And sometimes we have to take risks or leaps of faith, and we don't know the outcome. And that also gets tricky with intuition. Nothing's guaranteed. Sometimes all we can do with our intuition is take the best right next step, even if we don't know the outcome or we can't predict the outcome. Sometimes our intuition just guides us step by step. Those are some suggestions.
Oh, but like you said, what someone else thinks is right might be not right at all. So as my conclusion, I can say that instead we should be more careful when choosing who our leaders should be.
I agree. Yes. And again, that's a big conversation in itself, because our personal biases will affect the decisions we make, even if we feel it's right for us.
So it means that we have to make sure that if we choose a leader for a certain department in a company, for example, we have to make sure that this is the most possible right person for that position.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And we will hire and we will elect the wrong people. It happens.
I used to say that in my business model, in the first 3 months, when you look carefully at someone, you can know whether or not they are the right person you should be working with.
Yeah. I would say
Yes, continue.
a business in particular is, it's a living organism, and the leaders go through as much learning and a learning curve in navigating a business as much as they would personally, growing through their life. It's a life force. It's a form, it's a life force that we're navigating. And sometimes a business has to go through its peaks and valleys to find its way to its particular strength. And as much as we want it to be on the rise from the very beginning, there are so many factors like the economy or where people are, what's going on politically affects a business. So we will go through our hirings and firings. We'll hire people fast. We'll fire people fast. We'll think somebody interviews really well and have several interviews and find that they have a life crisis that affects their performance. I mean, there's so many variables that go into whether or not we did the right thing intuitively. And that's why I'm saying sometimes our intuition it's not that it's not right in the long run, but sometimes our intuition guides us in the next right step, even if it means we hire the wrong person to get to the right person. So there's a lot of variables.
Okay, sometimes for me, I believe that the big task is actually for the founder to create what I call the company identity, which has the set of the mission, the vision, the values, and the principles, because this is what will guide the whole company moving forward. And when hiring, what leaders should, here I'm talking founders, what they should focus on more is choosing someone who personally understands the company's identity as if it's their own identity, and then someone who has the will to grow to that identity. I think those are the two key areas that
I
tell you
love
that
that. Yeah.
you have made or you have chosen someone who is right for your company. Someone
Who's
who understands the identity and then is ready to grow into the company's identity. Because I adapt this thing called work experience, where they say that we want someone who has a 5 years experience. But I often say that even though you have 10 years experience in let's say consulting or whatever publishing, you don't have that experience in my company, and every company is different. Every company is created for a different reason. So that's why we need to better choose someone who believes in the company's identity and then is ready to go through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
So now, how can individuals overcome self-doubt and skepticism about their intuitive ability?
Yeah. So what would I say to someone who's skeptical? Is that the question?
Uh, I mean, how can individuals overcome self-doubt
Oh, I see.
or skepticism about their intuitive ability?
Yeah. How could you overcome self-doubt or skepticism? So first of all, I would, I wouldn't, I wouldn't, how do I want to say this? I wouldn't give up on yourself. To know that wisdom comes from deeper than the mind, than mental rationale, comes from our soul. And everybody has a soul. There's no way you're existing on this earth without a soul. And your soul, I'm saying this to anybody listening, your soul carries information that is worthy of you and this life. So if you are willing to embrace your worthiness of your wisdom and all your experience and all your seasoning and everything you've been through, and draw upon your soul strength, the inner wisdom that you carry within you, if that's what I would call upon to overcome self-doubt. Doubt's in the mind. Skepticism means I'm in the mind. I'm in my head. Wisdom drops us down into the heart. It drops us down deeper into our body. So you're never going to overcome self-doubt from the mind. You've got to go deeper into your wisdom and listen to that. And I'm going to make a strong statement, which is that I guarantee you're going to access information. You're going to access insight when you draw upon your wisdom.
So, drawn from what you're saying, it's like it's a journey, and the more you move forward, you will get better. There is a proverb in my mother language which goes like, "I walk and I saw," which defines wisdom as a journey. It's not something that you can get in one day. You have to grow slowly by slowly, slowly by slowly. That's why in our culture we respect old people, because we see them as houses of books, because they walk and they have seen a road. So
Yeah.
to the final question, what resources or practices do you recommend for listeners who want to dive deeper into developing their intuition?
Yeah, in terms of diving deeper and resources and practices, so I've been teaching a long time. It's been, I've been in this field for 30 years. You can always go to my YouTube channel. I have a lot of information in my YouTube channel. You can always, I have a free course on my website. I have my books. Anything that I have to offer, you can absolutely gravitate towards and just feed yourself this information. If you want to go deeper, I do a training. I have an energy healing and intuition training to help people really dive into their intuition and clear their blocks to be able to access more of their intuition. Those resources are there, and I would highly recommend that diving into that information. And on my website, there's also a free course. So wendyderosa.com, you can go to, you can register for a free course in developing your intuition. Other than that, there's a lot of information out there on intuition. And I remember the days when there wasn't. Came on board when there wasn't really the internet, and now we have the ability to reach across the globe. And so you can certainly do some searching and, researching any teachings on intuition, and just know that, I have free resources if you want them on my YouTube and on my social channels. So I hope that helps.
Okay, so you will have to share with me all those links to those resources. Then I will put them in the description of this episode. Okay, where I would also recommend people to go to a website called the Holy Books, holybooks.net or maybe .com. I don't remember where. They have almost all spiritual books from all religions, from the Hindu, from the Buddhism. And from my own overview, what I have discovered about religion is that God showed up people in all cultures, but we have a different image maybe because of our own traditions and cultures. Because when you try to look at what most of the religions, the Hindu, the Buddhism, the Islam, the Christianity teaches, it's almost the same. So I don't even understand why people always fight over I am a Muslim, I am a what, I am a what, I am a what, because the teachings are almost the same when you try to read all those books that are out there. But I have found, even though the Bible and then the Quran has a lot of wisdom, but these Indian philosophies, they have a lot of wisdom in those books. So people who want to be more spiritually powerful and more wiser as well, they can go on and read those books. I have seen that they have a lot of writings and in there.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
now, do you have any final bonus you would like to share, like a message you would like to share before we leave?
Just that I just encourage leaders to really embrace your intuition. It's equivalent to embracing your soul, and your soul guides your purpose and your mission and your ability to feel fulfilled in this life and have your greatest impact. And that all comes from your inner light. So that's my final message, just encouraging you to continue to tune in to yourself. Hopefully we'll connect soon. So thank you so much for this.
As a founder, because for us, we founders, we don't have anyone to tell us do this and this, do this and this. We have to follow what we feel spiritually. That's what we do. That's the decision. Is the founder who's there. They will now understand the importance of empowering their spiritual abilities, because that's what moves their businesses forward. So I thank you very much for joining me today, even though we have a technical issue, but everything is now good and had a very nice conversation. But maybe if you get some time, we can have another conversation, but about only spirituality.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot to talk about.
Okay, so I thank you very much. And I thank everyone who follows the Dead Minds podcast and on any platform where we are available. We are available on more than 50 listening apps. So I thank everyone who is following us. That's a big contribution, and that's what keeps us doing even more. So, Wendy, thank you very much for joining the Dead Man's podcast and for sharing your wisdom with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.